Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at another Evolutions deck. This is going to be a revamped version of Mega Gardevoir EX, and a lot of people are excited about this archetype being updated because we now have access to Dragonite EX, which looks like a pretty perfect partner for this archetype. So we will jump into the list. First of all, we have a 3-3 line of the Gardevoir EX. We don't need it to be any thicker because we have so much Pokemon recycle in this list. We're playing 2 Rod and 2 Dragonite EX. I think it's plenty to make sure that you can carry on and keep getting enough attackers throughout the game. We're opting to use the Link Blast Gardevoir EX, all 3 of them, because Link Blast is a pretty strong attack. Sometimes for a Fairy Colorless we do 30, plus 70 more damage if we have the same amount of energy attached as our opponent's active Pokemon. This is something to bear in mind when you are going up against Giratina variants, because oftentimes they like to chill on the bench and start stacking up energy. So if they bench Tina attach Double Dragon, they probably think they're safe. So if you keep that option to use that Link Blast, it's something that you can bear in mind, and you can one-hit KO Giratina's chilling on the bench with this card, so that's pretty cool. And then Luminous Blade's the second attack, which you'll rarely use, but it is an option. For 2 Fairy, 1 Colourless, you do 120 and discard an energy attached. Not too much to say there. Moving on to the Mega Gardevoir EX, we have, first of all, we're a dual type, and this is really good because dual typing means that we can hit weakness on dragon types like Giratina, as long as we use a Hex, or things like Hydreigon. And we also have the Psychic typing, so we can deal with Mega Mewtwo very effectively, as well as Hoopa. We can deal a one-hit KO with just our base output, which is fantastic. We have 210 HP, which is pretty standard for a Mega. And the Attack Despair Ray is very, very cool. And you can see the playstyle of this deck is unique, because this attack is really unique. We've not seen this in, I don't think, any other Pokemon in the TCG, correct me if I'm wrong. But for Fairy Colorless, we deal 110 base, which is already a great baseline. It means we're one-hit KOing Shaymin EX. Already thanks to weakness, we're hitting Hoopa and all these other things, so that's already great. But we can increase this amount for every Pokemon that we discard from our bench. This is pretty cool. So with a full bench with Skyfield, 8 bench Pokemon, we can discard them all and deal 190. Obviously 190 will deal with all EXs that don't have Fury Belt on, and thanks to Rattata we can actually clear Fury Belts off the board. So everything that's not really a Mega, we can potentially one-hit KO now, which is really, really cool. Really good stuff. Yeah, Despair Ray is a pretty powerful attack now that we have Rattata on our side. And for everything else, we can 2-hit KO quite comfortably. So Guardy is definitely a threat in this format. We have Resistance to Dark, which helps out against Dark Tina, as well as just Yveltal Guard builds, which is great. The weakness to Metal is the biggest concern. We pretty much auto-lose Scizor. I don't really feel like there's many techs we can add into this deck to make it work. There'll be one that I mentioned later that could maybe be played in here, but even then I think it's quite a niche card that you probably don't want to play in your list. But anyway, we'll get onto that later. Metal weakness, pretty horrible. There's one of our drawbacks. Onto the support, we have 2 Hoopa EX. We know that most Megas play 1, but Rayquaza and Guardy can definitely get away with more, because we want to spam Scoundrel Ring as often as possible. We can discard it with Despair Ray, so it's not just an easy prize target or a Lysandre stall target. We can just discard it straight off our board and then recycle it when we need to with Dragonite or with Super Rods. So very, very strong card. Helps us get set up perfectly. Finds everything but our 2 tech Pokemon, Rattata and Absol. So Hoopa is awesome. Pretty much turn 1 you want to dig for Ultra Ball and get going. And Hoopa's the crutch really of this deck. From there we have 4 Shaymin EX. Using that setup ability again, just draw cards. One of the reasons why this deck is good is because it is pretty consistent and we have a lot of draw power. That's really down to the amount of Shaymin we have. It's almost similar in the way that we try and play Rayquaza, in that we try and draw plenty of cards on the first turn and then combine it with a Hex to stop the opponent doing anything. So yeah, 4 Shaymin EX help us get there. Again, we don't worry about being easy prizes with every other deck, because we can just Despair Ray those Shaymins off the board and they're no longer an issue for us. So really good stuff. This attack is just so good in my opinion. Next up we have 2 Dragonite EX, the new inclusion from Evolutions that has really pushed this archetype. I played this before Evolutions, I actually played it at the regionals, and Gardy seemed like it was a deck that would take one big knockout, and then from then on you're looking to 2 hit KO things. With Dragonite EX, it really gives us great reload potential to get back into that range of 180 and start threatening every single turn a 1 hit KO. So very strong stuff thanks to this Dragonite. It has the ability pull up. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may put 2 basic Pokemon except Dragonite from your discard pile into the hand. So if we're cycling Super Rod, we can get things in. As long as we keep Hoopa in our discard pile, Dragonite finds Hoopa, Hoopa finds the rest. That's pretty much the idea. As well as having our tech Pokemon, Rattata and Absol, we can spam them with Dragonite as well. It works very, very nicely for us. Really, really cool card in here. Speaking of the techs, one Rattata is again an inclusion from Evolutions with the ability Mischievous Fang. When you play this Pokemon from hand to bench, you discard all tool cards attached to your opponent's active. So this is a pain for Mega decks if you're going second and they've put tool on. Pretty much they can't do that. If they see a Gardevoir, they should probably have to play around it, which can sometimes in its own right be good for you. As well as, like I said earlier, get rid of Fighting Fury Belt and then dig for 1 hit KOs. I think it's pretty good for Volcanion. It's good for Darktina. Obviously Darkrai already has resistance, so you pretty much still can't 1 hit KO them, so maybe not as relevant there, but definitely against like Yveltal and Volcanion, it's really good to get rid of those tools. Additionally, it stops Klefki being an issue, and it also stops Bursting Balloon being an issue, so as well as Rattata somehow improves your Greninja matchup. So yeah, it's a really good one-off that we can spam with the Dragonite for multiple purposes and multiple uses throughout a game. Very, very cool stuff. Next up we have the Absol with the Cursed Eyes ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, just like Rattata, it's like this one-time use. Pretty much all of our Pokemon are doing things as soon as they hit the bench, so bear that in mind because we basically just recycle those to get multiple uses. You may move 3 counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of his or her Pokemon. So when we're maybe a little bit shy of a knockout, definitely against these Mega decks, sometimes we look for the 2 hit KO, and in those circumstances we can waste damage, and we don't like wasting damage. We want to set things up. For example, if we're in a mirror match and we go for a 2 hit KO, we can do 110. Then the following turn we can use Cursed Eyes to move 3 counters onto their other potential Mega that they've got on the bench, and then we're going to commit the rest of our bench to the discard pile so we can finish off the KO. And from there, our next turn, the Gardy that we Cursed Eyes'd now is down to 180 HP, which is in range of our Mega, so we can technically get a 1 hit KO. That's just for the Megas, but it's also good again for Darkrai. Just anything really that you want to set up 2 hit KOs on. Absol gives you plenty of options. Even to some extent, you can target down multiple Froakies in your opening turns, but normally you're getting the 1 hit KO. But if they're playing Talonflame, you can choose to do 110. Then you can Absol try and snipe a couple of things as well. So it just helps you retain damage, and because you can spam it so nicely with Dragonite now, I think it's much more important to have in this list. It's just a great math fixer all round, and make sure that you're getting the most out of your attacks, really. Onto the items now. We are playing 1 regular Switch, the nice Evolutions artwork. Because we have a Skyla in here, I like having the option of both Switch and Escape Rope. Obviously they're both good in different situations. I'm slightly favouring the Rope as the 2 count, but I still think just a plain old Switch is pretty good. Still playing the 2 Ropes though. Rope is in a way more versatile than Switch in terms of it covers for some matchups. Escape Rope can gust out a Fright Night Yveltal, which would otherwise be awkward for us, as well as making sure that we can find Hoopas and Shaymins in the early turns, because there's a lot of decks right now that rely on Hoopa Shaymin, and sometimes their bench is only EX Pokemon, and it's only going to be Hoopa and Shaymin and, you know, their other EXs that they probably don't want to get hurt, so sometimes just playing an Escape Rope in the first place is as good as a Lysandre in terms of getting those aggressive, easy prizes for us. And again, Volcanion, especially because we can get rid of Floatstone now with Rattata, we can make life awkward for them with Escape Rope, because oftentimes they only play 1 non-EX. Sometimes they're playing Starmie now, so even then they don't really want to commit the Starmie to the active because they kind of need that to get their energy retained. So basically it means we can gust into an EX, get them damaged, remove a Floatstone if they've attached them. So Really, really good combo with Escape Rope. It's pretty good in here. Next up, just the 2 count of Super Odds. At the weekend, I played the 3 count, but obviously we have Dragonite to try and balance that out a little bit in terms of recovering Pokemon. You could consider playing a 3rd. I have thought about it. At the moment, I'm choosing 3rd Mega Turbo over it, but that's something you might want to decide in your own time. I still like potentially having the option to have more Super Odds, even with the high count of Dragonite. I think it is sometimes worth it. By only playing 2 Rod, again, we're limiting ourselves to how many times we can reload. So bear that in mind. The more Super Odds, or maybe even Brock's Grit, the more potential you have to burst 180 or 190 every turn. With this deck, the list I'm showing you right now, with only 2 Rod, 2 Dragonite, we probably get 1 big old KO, and then we look to find Hoopa and Shaymin, just like we used to do. It's just this time we're a bit more versatile with Dragonite, and we have some more reload potential to maybe get 2 big KOs in a game. That's the idea, at least. But yeah, Super Rod recovers, you know, energy and Pokemon, pretty simple stuff. You do have to be careful when to play the Rod. You almost always keep at least 1 Hooper in the discard pile. The Absol and the Rattata will remain in the discard pile as well. But if you Super Rod back in the other things, Shaymin and your Guardi pieces, as well as any energy, as long as you still keep some in there for Mega Turbo value, it means that Dragonite finds Hooper, who finds the rest, basically. That's the concept. So the 3 count of Mega Turbo, I really, really liked it, the 3 count that I played at the weekend. And I've remained it in here because there's a few 1-hit KO decks in format right now. There's Rainbow Road, and there's also, of course, Rayquaza, and even Mirror to some extent. If they play Giovanni's, they can 1-hit KO you. Our list isn't playing Giovanni, but really the idea is if they're committing to 1-hit KO you, then they go down to a 0 bench, and it's so risky for them to do that because they don't know that we don't play Giovanni, right? So if they KO us, nothing stops us from then finishing the game just by killing their only active Pokemon. Obviously, Giovanni means they can finish the game a lot quicker. Like, they can take 1 knockout, and then their last 2 prizes isn't going to be a 2-hit KO. It'll always be a 1-hit as long as they commit their bench. But I'm getting off topic here, getting too in detail with Giovanni's scheme. I'm just saying that there's a lot of 1-hit KO in this format, so we want to be able to recycle Guardis, and Mega Turbo is a great way of doing this. Also, it reduces the strain on our Switch and our Escape Ropes. If we were to lead with Absol, Rattata, or Shaymin, they all have a single retreat cost, so we can attach retreat on turn 2 and just Mega Evolve Mega Turbo, and we get there without having to use Rope or Switch if it's awkward to use them or if we don't have access to them. So yeah, I really like the 3 count of Mega Turbo. I think it works well in this metagame. 3 Trainer's Mail, would kind of like 4 sometimes, but we've had to make the cuts for other things like Dragonite and Rattata. I think right now they're more important than just 4th Mail. 3 is still, you know, a pretty high count, and it gets you into combo pieces like Ultra Ball's pretty much the main thing that we're after. It's a huge card in this deck because it pretty much finds you like so much stuff with Hoopa every time. When, like, if every Ultra Ball got a Hoopa, oh my god, it's just crazy value. Really good stuff in here. Also discards Fair Energy for turbo value. So many reasons why this is good. The 4 VS Seeker count, again, pretty standard stuff. A couple of one-off supporters. The one-off Skyla. I actually really like Skyla in Mega Builds. I love Skyla in Mega Builds, like all of them. Actually, at the weekend, pre-Evolutions, I played 3 Skyla in my list for Mega Guardi, because it just guarantees Ultra Ball, and Ultra Ball is the way you win, basically, with Guardi, because you just find Hoopa, and that gets you everything else. It can also get you Spirit Link, it can get you one of your Switch cards, it can get you Mega Turbo, it can get you pretty much everything, so Skyla's really good in here. I would definitely consider a 2 count. Right now, I don't see space, but I would consider a 2 count of Skyla. I know Jack will hate me for saying that, but I do really love Skyla in this deck. Whenever you hit it, you're just so happy to have it. The one of N, like I was saying, there's a lot of 1-hit KO decks out there right now. This is going to help us balance out those sorts of matchups where they're going aggressive on prizes, slow them down, try and make it awkward for them. In mirror matches, you actually don't want to N very often. It's way more painful if you play a Hex, so bear that in mind. If you're up against something like Ray or Guardi, it's way better to combo a Hex than to use an N. And when I say combo, I mean because you're probably going to drop a Parallel City on a Rayquaza player and then drop Hex so they can't reload. That's the idea. But yeah, N for other matchups is still pretty handy. And it's shuffle draw, so we don't always have to discard resources like Spirit Links or extra stadiums, stuff like that. 2 count of Lysandre. Like I'm saying, this is because we have the slightly lower rod count. I'd consider 3 to be standard. 2 is a little bit cheeky, which is why we've gone for the 2 count of Lysandre as well as 2 escape ropes, because we want to just hit that baseline 110 without having to discard things and without needing a board state really to deal with Hoopas and Shaymins, because we're so effective at dealing with those Pokemon. So Lysandre at the 2 count is really good in my opinion. As well as 2 Hex Maniac. We function similar to Ray, like I said earlier in the video, that we will use Hoopa Shaymin, get set up, get Energy Spirit Link, and then if you have the Hex at the end of the turn, it's just so difficult for other players. Amazing for Ray, amazing for Mirror, even Scizor to some extent. Like your only like 5% win condition is if you can chain Hex for like 2 turns and then just deal with, you know, their active Pokemon and hope that they have nothing. But yeah, Scizor's pretty horrific. But yeah, Hex could make things happen. Obviously you need the Hex count as well for Volcanion. I think with 2 Hex, you're pretty comfortable against Volk. At the weekend I had Hexes, I had 2, and I also had 2 Fairy Drop on my list, and I went pretty positive against Volk. Without Fairy Drop, maybe it's a bit less comfortable, but at the same time we have got 3 Mega Turbo, so if you can tank a hit with a Mega and then discard it into another Mega, retreat and then discard it with your second Mega, they lose damage, you can chain another Hex, maybe you get another one-hit KO, and especially now that we have Rattata, I feel we're stronger against Volcanion than we used to be. So yeah, I think the 2 Hex count again is important for Volk right now, as well as of course getting over Giratina EX, because we need to Hex them to use Despair Ray, otherwise we can look for Link Blast combos and stuff like that, but that's really about it. Then we have 3 Professor Sycamore. Because we're drawing so much with Hoopa Shaymin for the most part, we can dig and find our supporters quite comfortably. I'm happy enough with the 3 count of Sycamore overall. Onto the stadiums, we are playing 2 Skyfield. This is the way that we hit big numbers, the big one-hit KOs. Like I've said a couple of times already, we look for this maybe once a game. Maybe once if you really need it. Sometimes you don't even need to just one-hit KO something in the active. You can tank hits yourself because we have 2 10 HP. So a lot of the time we can just trade 2-hit KOs on things and then make sure that we one-hit KO a Hoopa and a Shaymin to win the race. So I think we only really need 2. There's so many other decks playing Skyfield as well. Rainbow Road, Ray, we're expecting those to increase in popularity since Dragonite helps them both out in a way. I can see Dragonite being a one-of in Rainbow Road, but even then, just Rainbow Road having a good matchup against Gardy and having a good matchup against Rayquaza, which we saw win at the weekend, makes me think that Rainbow Road is going to be more popular in the coming tournaments. So I think only 2 Skyfield is enough, and that's also why we're playing 2 Parallel City. It's going to help us out against Ray and Rainbow Road. If we can Parallel plus Hex a Rayquaza, I feel comfortable that we could maybe win that game. Without Parallel City, I never see you winning a game against Rayquaza, to be honest, other than Hex Chain. That's pretty much it, and Hex Chain pretty much relies on you going first, so you don't ever reliably win Rayquaza without Parallel City in the list. Parallel's still helpful for lowering the output of Volcanion as well, and lowering the output of Greninja also, so it's pretty much good all around. Parallel's still really sick. We don't need it for our own sort of limiting of Pokemon, because we discard it all with Despair Ray anyway. So yeah, I think the 2 count is pretty solid for those matchups. 4 Guardy Spirit Link, even though we just have the 3-3 count, don't let that fool you, because we have so much cycle of our Pokemon. So the 4 count of Spirit Link I think is really nice. You want to access them quickly, and you do have the option to Despair Ray your own Megas away, so the more Spirit Links the better really, just to keep going with them and keep getting Guardies out. Rounding it off, just the 8 Fairy Energy. In my list just last weekend I had Letter in here, and it made me a bit more comfortable, because the 8 count sometimes makes me a little bit nervous. There are times when you might miss an energy, which is awkward, but we just have to cross our fingers that the amount of draw that we have with Hoopa and Shaymin is enough. Oftentimes it will be, so it's not really an issue to have the 8 count. It might be something that you want to work on, but overall I don't see any cut that's more obvious just to increase an energy count, because it's only a few situations where you lose this. And especially with Mega Turbo in the mid to late game, you're never really shy of energy, so I think that's fine. Looking at some other options that you could go for in the deck, Hawlucha is one. We are of course playing 2 escape ropes already, but Hawlucha obviously is a Pokemon, so that we can spam it with Dragonite whenever we need to, which is pretty cool. It also helps out against Vileplume Box. We can spam Hawlucha, that's also just crazy good. So if you're worried about Plume Box, just play a Hawlucha and you're pretty chilled out. There is actually one other Pokemon. I said earlier that Scizor is like unwinnable. If you play 1 Wonderlock Klefki, you can actually spam this quite a lot because we have Dragonite. So if you are happy to have a slow turn and Mega for turn whilst attaching a Klefki, let that get discarded, then you Dragonite back Klefki, and then you can spam Klefki for like 3 or 4 turns in my opinion. It doesn't really help out in Mirror because they have Rattata, but it does really help out in Rayquaza and Scizor. So I could see this being a one-of, just like Absol and Rattata, to really help out against other Mega decks. And I think, as well as the Parallel City, maybe 1 Klefki could work to help out against Rayquaza. I'm just spitballing the idea. I haven't tested it out too much. Don't know how practical this is. But I think with Dragonite, the combo of a single Klefki could be really cool in here. Do bear in mind, of course, Scizor lists often play Silent Lab anyway. So it's not the be-all and end-all for Scizor, because oftentimes they're just going to replace his Stadium anyway. But yeah, Klefki could be a cool one-off that bails you out in certain matchups, and could be pretty cool, especially if you can, I guess in Mirror as well, if you put Klefki on, then Hex. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It stops the Rattata, buys you a turn guaranteed. Yeah, it's going to be one of those cards that I test out. I haven't had enough time to test it myself, but the one-off Klefki I feel like could be a pretty pro play. I mentioned that we don't have a lot of cycle in this deck compared to, you know, my old list. Brock's Grit could fill the void there by having a supporter version. It's obviously a double Super Rod in 1 card. This could be a nice balance, especially because if you have Ultra Ball in hand, you can afford to Brock and then Ultra Ball back a Hoopa, get drawing again. You still have potential to draw cards in your turn, even though you're using Brock as your supporter. It's one of the few decks that has that sort of luxury. So Brock, I can definitely see being an option for you. I think for now, though, I would rather go to 3rd Rod over Brock, but that's just me being greedy with my supporters, wanting to Hex more, wanting to Lysandre more, finish out those games and really hurt your opponent a little bit more. Now, Skyla is a one-off, but I do really want to have the debate about having more Skyla. At the weekend, I loved playing Skyla. It was just super safe to play Skyla. You always get what you need, and if you're playing Skyla in a high count, like 2 or 3, I would probably recommend Professor's Letter. It basically means this deck becomes a lot less aggressive. It means you don't dig for Hex turn 1. It means you're digging for Skyla to guarantee turn 2. And if you guarantee turn 2, it's pretty, like I'm saying, it's just safe. You're doing what you're meant to be doing on turn 2. It's very consistent if you play the Skyla build, in my opinion. A lot less aggressive, but it could be a decent choice in here. That's up to you to test yourselves as well. I did also mention Giovanni's Scheme. Some lists will play this to increase that 20 damage. It means that we can access a 1-hit KO on a Darkrai, because we go to 190 with a full bench, then we go to 210, which goes back down to 190 with the resistance Darkrai has, because we're part Psychic as well. So if we discard our full bench, or if we discard everything but 1 Pokemon on our bench, plus Giovanni, means we one-hit KO Darkrai, even if they have Fury Belt, because we can Rattata them. So it improves Darktina matchup. I never thought Darktina was a problem, but that was when I was playing Fairy Drops. So maybe you do want Giovanni's Scheme in here, something for you to debate amongst yourselves. But that's it really for options for the deck. I think there's plenty with Gardy. Just because its attack is so cool, you have a lot of options to do things. And ooh, new ladder, great. We can yeah, there's plenty of things. You don't have to worry about bench sitters or anything like that, because you just despair ray them off the board. So it's a very versatile archetype that I imagine will remain close to the top tables throughout its career now that we've got Dragonite. I think it's very, very cool, and maybe a deck that has to be countered to stop it being a real threat. And we've already seen that 2 Scizors made top 8 in Liverpool regionals, and maybe Scizor will remain a threat just because Gardy is still pretty strong and probably gaining strength in a vacuum. It just has the threat of Scizor now to worry about once again. So I'm rambling, but we have a hand. We will lead with Absol, and we will hold the rest. And looks like we're up against the Plume Box, and we're going second as well. Pretty gross, but we'll see what we can do. We have the Lysandre in hand, so we can probably stall things out for a couple of turns. We actually find Gardevoir, which I will put in right now, just for the sake. And like I was saying, Hawlucha would be really nice in here for this matchup if you're considering it to be popular. It may again be one of these decks where it wasn't too popular last weekend, but it could increase in popularity now that we're seeing more Mega Gardevoir and more Mega Ray probably in the next coming weeks, and Regice walls both of those quite effectively. So we actually draw into a pretty horrible hand. We just have to hope that the opponent doesn't have turn 1 Vileplume. Looks like they've put down Oddish and Mew. They're actually Ultra Balling away Regice, which is very interesting. Would have thought Regice is the pick against this sort of deck, but we'll see. Shaymin is going to draw 5 cards. There is Gloom. There's Manaphy for the free retreat, as long as he has Rainbow or Water Energies on his board. Gonna see a Trainer's Mail. Gonna see that Ultra Ball, so he could guarantee Vileplume if he wants it. If his hand is like a Sycamore or an N or something, he'll probably just go Plume. And that looks like he does just want the Vileplume here. Okay. So, we have Basic Energy, and that's all we have. We'll see the opponent's hand. I imagine it was a supporter. If it wasn't a supporter, they went pretty risky. I guess if it was DCE, it was also okay. We're going to see the Ninja Boy. I wonder what target. It might even be the active just for Regice. Yeah, that's what we're seeing. Exactly. And there is the DCE. And Resistance Blizzard for 70. Tanking with Absol is pretty nice. That's not the best of draws. We'll just attach pass. And we'll get hit with Resistance Blizzard. Okay. Pretty grim top decks. Dragonite does actually have an attack, Hyper Beam, but it's way too expensive when we only play Basic Energy. We'll just attach pass, I think. Obviously can't deal damage to Regice when he's in the Resistance Blizzard lock. So we only have a couple of turns to draw out of this. DC to a Mew. Well, that's not one of the outs that we have. One turn. Well, obviously we can retreat into this guy, but it's awkward. This one damage counter is actually pretty big. Means we can KO the Vileplume, but in the future. I think we just retreat to Absol. Because if we promote Dragonite there, like, there's no way we move this guy. So sure, let's keep drawing dead. Feels good. Skyla, maybe for Lysandre for next turn. It's rare that you see Skyla in a build like this, because they can like never play items from now on, and otherwise Skyla feels pretty slow. You might even want to play a Steven, because Steven gets you like one of your 2 basic energy, as well as the supported that you go for. Don't like the Skyla in there, to be honest. I'd prefer Misty's Determination. I prefer a lot of supporters, to be honest. We see the Water Energy, the free retreat into the Mew. And Mew is going to copy Resistance Blizzard now. Dragonite will come up. The S-Seeker's not very helpful. And, yeah, Vileplume's doing things. Gonna see a Ninja Boy. Maybe moving the Shaymin into something more useful. Yeah, just going to go for the Jolteon because it's a free retreater, so I can't have a stall target now. And going to see the Resistance Blizzard for 70. Parallel might be useful if we force him to attack with Regice, because... Okay, so we're going to initiate the Stadium War, hope that he gets rid of more forests, so we can maybe win the Stadium War with a Parallel. If we deal with the Mew, we can tank a Resistance Blizzard with the Regice with the Stadium in. Okay. Okay. Good, good. It's their 3rd Stadium. It's another... Oh, that's a beautiful Mew. The newer promo. That's why Mew is now back in format. Because of this beautiful promo. We see a Sycamore. See an attachment to the Vileplume. And Resistance Blizzard. Again, the clock is ticking for us. We're in a lot of trouble here. So, Mew takes the damage. And we're going to see N. Well then. It's pretty bold, to be honest. Don't know what they need to dig for. And they're giving us a chance to see new cards. Interesting. Well, we have Lysandre. Has to be here. And we'll just spare Ray for 110. There's no reason to not do this damage because we're not getting the KOs, so this could combo with Absol maybe. But it's an energy for game, basically. We're going to see a Sycamore. Didn't have energy in hand, but they probably do now. Yeah, there it is. We get the KO, boys. But we lose the game. Well, Hex would have been nice. Oh well. Well, that was a fun and interactive game. Let's try and find another one. 0-1 with Gardy. Happens. It happens. As long as you don't respect... I mean, it's not like our list doesn't respect Plume, because we do play 2 Hex, 2 Lysandre, but just a pretty awkward hand. We got End into that Grim hand as well. So we have another game. This time Sandrock87 is gonna do the flip. And we'll see what he's thinking, what he wants. We win the flip, so we'll go first, absolutely. And this isn't a terrible hand. What would be the ideal trainer's mail here? Probably just Ultra Ball. It's always Ultra Ball. Let's see what we're up against. Looks like we're up against Mega Mewtwo. Well, this is one of our easiest matchups, so that's cool. We did hit Ultra Ball. Just Ultra Ball away these two. Attach, play the Sycamore. We don't even need to play the Sycamore because we can draw cards. Okay. Looks like we've prized one Mega. We have all of our other Pokemon. We've prized a Mega Turbo. That's something to bear in mind. We've prized one of each of our stadium. And the Lysandre. Okay. Let's Scoundrel Ring. To seriously lock down this game, we want to find what's it called? Hex, turn 1. That's like seriously just rude, mean, whatever you want to call it. I'm fairly comfortable attaching to the active. We want to be threatening this. And we'll draw 3 from Shaymin. Spirit Link is nice. I think Skyla's actually the play here. Skyla just for another link. Yeah, that's fine. Then we'll draw 3 more cards. And that's pretty cool for us. As long as our opponent doesn't change our hand, we have guaranteed turn 2 KO with the Mega and the Turbo. Then we can just Sycamore the other 2 dudes away. Pretty nice. No Hex, but that's fine. I mean, against a Mewtwo, we don't need it too badly. They Trainer's Mail for an N, so they could N us out of the dream. Another Trainer's Mail to go, though. They do find a Spirit Link. They actually put it to the active. That is so brave. They're going to parallel us, which I really don't mind at all. And we do get hit with the N. Now we see the Hoopa from the opponent. They're going to find a Mewtwo, and they're going to Ultra Ball to get more cards from their Shaymin, it looks like. Going to find another Mewtwo. And we're going to see that Shaymin. And we get hit for 30. Picking up that VS Seek is actually really good here. It means we can Skyla for Skyfield. Yep, that's insane. All hail Skyla. Man, I love Skyla in this deck. Because then we can Hoopa, guarantee 2 Megas and Shaymin. Oh man, so good. We don't need these. Pretty good. Potential to use Dragonite there, but I don't think we need second Hoopa this turn. Let's draw some more cards. Well, the Spirit Link's nice. We no need to play the Rod because that's exactly what we want for Dragonite. So I'm still going to discard these 3 cards because we always get the one-hit KO on everything on his board, and it means if we do get paralleled again, we still have an open slot for potential more Hoopa Shaymin. And we pick up Lysandre and VS, not bad at all. VS for Skyla, boys. Yeah, Skyla won us that game. We all know it. Play Skyla, guys. It's pretty good. Should be a 7 of in every deck. Alright, let's quickly get some coins or whatever. And we'll find one more game. And see what we can come up with. We had an uninteractive Vileplume, and then we had an uninteractive Mewtwo. Let's actually try and find a middle ground for Mega Gardevoir. Let's see if we can. Nice chancy coin. This time the opponent gets to go first. And that's a pretty gross hand. A couple of males though, so we could get, again, you just cross your fingers for Ultra Ball with this deck, basically. And we see the opponent use Shaymin in their active, not giving away too much what we're up against, and we get N straight away. So they really don't have much in their hand. And we get into Ultra Ball, so we're happy. We also have Spirit Link and Energy. It's like the dream, pretty much. See Crushing Hammer, so Tina hammers maybe. DC onto the Shaymin, threatening that Rattata, because we only have 40 HP. Interesting. Considering if I want to play this Escape Rope this turn to get Guardian to the active, I think no. I think I discard it. Close though. Very close. Okay, so we prized one Hoopa. Okay. Let's use Hoopa. Gonna do the classic. I think even I could not end because they have so little. If I'm not ending, maybe I'll do that. No, we still do this because I think I'd rather Hex, so I want to draw more cards. Okay, we'll just have continuous debates. I don't mind committing the energy this turn because we play 3 Mega Turbo. They're going to Crushing Hammer us at some point in the game. We may as well just get an attachment for turn in so we draw more cards. More Ultra Balls. I think I hold it. Yeah, I think this is fine. We're not going to play N because they only have a Shaymin. If they play Fury Belt, they can get a cheeky KO, but it's still forcing a 7 prize game, so I'm not too bothered. See a Tails on the Crushing, see a second Crushing, get a Heads, and we see an N. We draw into that switch, but now we haven't played a supporter, so VS Seeker's not too useful. We finally see the opponent get a second Pokemon going with this Ultra Ball for a Hoopa. I'm guessing this is Tina Hammers, just because it plays Crushings and Hoopa. And that's exactly what we're seeing. They dig for a Lugia as well as the Giratina. See a Fury Belt onto... Ooh, they chose not to put it on Shaymin. Okay. So putting Fury Belt on protects him from a Link Blast KO. But he could take a KO himself here. I guess he doesn't want to KO the Rattata. He wants it to be more awkward for us to respond. Because I don't know where he's going to Sky Return into, right? Everything's awkward if he does choose to Sky Return. He could just choose to remain active. I don't even know what he wants to do here. Or Sky Return into another Shaymin. Nothing's that handy. Yeah, we just see the Sky Return for 30. Wow, they actually promote Giratina. That is pretty brave. Pretty brave. But we don't have a hand to deal with it, which is a shame. Can't do much. I might put Skyfield in just so that we can. Because it's a -1 from hand at least. I could play Hex to make it more awkward for them to get more Shaymins. But Hex is really important to keep in hand, and I don't really want to reveal it. So that if we do somehow get a Mega next turn, he knows about it. There is the Parallel City. Get rid of Hoopa. See another Crushing. Gets Tails. There's DCE. And I'm going to see Chaos Wheel. So I'm fairly happy to promote Gardy here. Simply because we already have the switch in hand, right? Not much help there, to be honest. I could play Switch into the Shaymin, so that next turn we can Dragonite Shaymin. I think that's our best line. Play the Hex this turn for -1. I think we do. Not happy about the Hex. DC to Lugia. And just Chaos Wheel. So, let's go Dragonite. So I'm going to think if I want to Ultra Ball these two away. Could just Ultra Ball the Dragonite and the Gardy away, actually. We draw more cards this way. I don't know, we can Dragonite and then discard to Hoopa again with the Ultra Ball. Yeah, that's way better. Okay. We're just discarding Hoopa anyway, so... let's find Mega. We'll go Mega. We'll draw some cards. Mega Turbo is very nice. Have turn attach as well. And we'll play the second Hex here. And we'll despair at getting rid of our two other Pokemon on the board. And it's going okay. The good thing about our opponent actually taking 3 prizes now is that The way I think we lose against Tina Hammers is that we take too far of a lead and then we get killed by N. This way, they hurt themselves with N as much as they're hurting us right now, so it's pretty good. See, second DC onto Lugia, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Unless he wants to discard the stadium for us, he can do more damage, but it hurts. It removes parallel for us, so really up to them. See a Floatstone onto the Trubbish. And VS Seeker. And they are going to play N. I guess because they've already attached this turn. Oh, beforehand we're going to see a Shaymin. Did they forget that we hexed? Yeah, they did. And off the end we get a really nice hand. It's way better than the hand we actually had. We're going to see a special charge from the opponent. And probably just going to get bopped in the face here. Just going to use Aero Ball, so they want to keep the stadium in, and that's pretty wise, I would say. We're going to Trainer's Mail. Both these cards are pretty useless. I think we take the Spirit Link just to get rid of it. We'll attach to our bench, and we'll just Sycamore this hand. We have whiffed Stadium. Obviously we want Stadium so we can one-hit KO this turn. If we one-hit KO, we're in such good shape. So we will Trainer's Mail. Oh my days. Uh-oh. The opponent is definitely in trouble now. And this is where you see the difference between old and new Gardy. Old Gardy doesn't get this. New Gardy gets it. Okay. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to try and find Super Rod for our Dragonite. Okay, so we're drawing substantially less if we play the Ultra Ball, but we need to Super Rod into Ultra Ball, right? Oh, hold on. Because Dragonite still needs targets in the discard pile. Okay, so we Ultra Ball away a Shaymin and a Skyla. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably shouldn't have discarded that Shaymin. By discarding the Shaymin, I was digging for the Dragonite combo. But I could have just retreated this guy and blown up my whole board. I was thinking I needed all 8 because I wanted to keep both Guardies around. Do I still retreat into this guy? I don't think I do, just because he plays Hammers and Flare Grunts. I think I let him get down to 1 prize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do 160 and then we're getting him into Absol range anyway. Okay. Let's see how well the opponent drew out of their own end. I've only played 2 VS and 0 Sycamore so far. And 0 Male. Ooh, just the KO. Okay. That's not bad for us at all. So again, I find myself using Skyla. Man, I love Skyla in this deck. Why dig for Super Rod when you can guarantee it, right? And we're going to Super Rod. Dragonite. And Shaymin? No, we want to do these 3, I think. Because then I can Dragonite for Hoopa. No, we want these. Dragonite for Hoopa and Shaymin. Hoopa finds me these. We get Shaymin, yeah. I think I'm just discarding these 2 energy because I'm playing around N this way. So you are seeing the immense power of Dragonite in this list. Very, very strong. We'll just take this guy. And we'll also attach to it. We'll set up. Second Super Rod is very good. No, we keep 1 in there. Losing a lot of energy now. Yeah, all of these are good Dragonite targets now. Do I play Mega Turbo just to get out of hand? I think I do. And it protects us from a Flare Grunt or a Hammer. Just a random one. Popping in to say hey. The opponent has no energy on board, so I'm pretty content to just Despair Ray. There's our second Hoopa, which is pretty nice. It's a good card to put back into our deck if we're getting end. Don't really see what the opponent can do in terms of... I think they need to attach DCE, N plus Garb this turn. Keep Garb active. Hope that we have no answer. Yeah, okay. Here comes... It was Flare Grunt and Garb. I really don't think that's enough. Well, obviously, because they haven't got rid of our hand, so... Just Lysandre, Hoopa. Yeah, I don't think their play was wrong in terms of getting Garb up. It means that obviously we could KO the Tina as well. But if they played Garb plus N, hope we don't draw Lysandre. They're actually still in that game for a bit. I guess that way we just don't kill the Garb. So then we can always deal with the Tina. Yeah, okay. I think we're pretty far ahead there. But yeah, that was Mega Gardy. A few good games there, some interesting matchups. We definitely saw the power of Dragonite in that 3rd battle, I think. Yeah, good stuff, guys. I think it's a really powerful archetype, and will continue to be strong because just the inherent power of Despair Ray is just really, really good. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the list and the battles and whatever else, just Mega Gardy in general. For now though, leave a like to this video if you did, comment if you want to get involved in the chat. We are very good at replying, and subscribe if you have not already. It has been Joe from Omnipoke, and I will see you guys next time.